It is Saturday, May 23rd, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Dan Miller, and I'm here to make sure we don't get checkmated by the market.
This is Buck Reynolds.
I'm Jules Sterling. And I'm Elena Rossi. We have a great show for you today.
Look, folks, we have a packed episode today. Coming off yesterday, where we were digging into the Build America 250 Act, that $580 billion infrastructure play, and laughing at that Waymo truck getting stuck in an Atlanta puddle, here's the play for today. We're moving from wet sensors to agentic AI, billions in debt being wiped clean at STG, and a price-fixing scandal in the container market that's got the DOJ knocking on doors. It's a lot to cover, right?
It's definitely a lot, Dan. I'm still thinking about those record diesel prices from yesterday. $5.64 a gallon is still stinging my clients. But today feels a bit more, futuristic? In a the robots are taking the paperwork kind of way?
Or, the regulators are finally catching up kind of way, Jules. Actually, the shift we're seeing today in operational excellence is precisely what I was hoping for when we discussed the end of outsourced safety yesterday. You see, if you can't control your data, you can't control your risk.
Exactly. And look, the first big move on the board is coming from Coupa. They just acquired Tonkean. This isn't just another AI-enabled buzzword play. We are talking about agentic AI. Buck, I know you love your manual logs, but this is software that doesn't just show you a chart, it actually executes the workflow.
I mean, look, I don't love manual logs, Dan. I love things that work when the power goes out. But here's the deal. This agentic stuff? You're telling me the computer is just going to start, hiring carriers and approving legal intake without a human in the loop?
Not exactly without a human, Buck, but removing the manual handoffs that lead to errors. Coupa is sitting on $10 trillion of spend data. $10 trillion. They just bought Rossum for document processing, and now Tonkean for orchestration.
It's sort of like giving the AI a set of car keys instead of just a map, right?
That's the analogy. It's a ball control offense. They're reporting a 50% reduction in cycle times. That's 30 hours a week saved for ops teams. I mean, look, if you're a broker and you can get 30 hours back, you're not just chasing trucks anymore. You're actually building the business.
If the data is clean.
Which is the point. You see, Lee Turner, the CEO at Coupa, specifically said you need 3 things: unified orchestration, best-in-class workflows, and trusted data. Without those, you're just accelerating a disaster. I suppose it's like a ballroom dance. If one partner is agentic and the other is just guessing the steps, someone's getting a bruised toe.
I love the imagery, Elena. But look, while Coupa is buying software, STG Logistics is buying a second lease on life. This is the big financial story of the week. They just got court approval to emerge from Chapter 11.
Already? That felt, fast, right?
Because it was a pre-packaged plan, Jules. Actually, the federal court in New Jersey approved it on May 18th. Here is the staggering part. They wiped out over 90% of their funded debt. We are talking about a reduction of more than $1 billion.
$1 billion? Look, that's how you clear the deck for a deep post-recession run. Fortress Investment Group and Fidelity are the new owners now. They're even getting $25 million more in fresh capital.
I mean, that's all well and good for the suits in New Jersey. But what does that do for the guy waiting at the rail ramp? STG is huge in intermodal. If they've been under the thumb of $1 billion debt cloud, I got to imagine their maintenance and equipment were starting to feel the pinch.
Exactly, Buck. My thing is, if I'm a shipper, I was probably hesitant to give STG my high-value retail freight while they were in bankruptcy protection. Now, they've got a clean balance sheet and the backing of some serious heavy hitters. it makes them a predator in this market again, right?
They're the comeback player of the year candidate. Bottom line, Jeff Anderman, their CEO, basically said this gives them the capital structure to double down on port-to-door solutions. It's a signal, folks. The big dogs that survived the dog years of 2024 and 2025 are leaning out and getting mean.
Actually, Dan, they better stay mean. Because the silent tax of insurance premiums isn't going away. Even with $1 billion in debt gone, litigation-driven costs are at record highs. You can't bankrupt your way out of a nuclear verdict.
Amen to that. Speaking of not being able to hide from the facts, can we talk about these smart trailers?
Oh, you mean Mark Wallen taking the helm at Phillips Connect? This fits right into your world, Buck.
Well, the thing is, I've always said the trailer is the dumb end of the stick, but Phillips Connect is trying to give it a brain. Mark Wallen was the architect of their tech roadmap, and now he's the president and GM. He's looking to turn the trailer into a co-pilot.
A co-pilot? How does that work in practice? I mean, is it just more sensors to break?
No, here's the deal. They've got this stuff like Trailer ID. It verifies the hookup the second it happens. You know how many hours my drivers have wasted at a terminal because they hooked the wrong white box in the dark? It's a nightmare.
And they have cargo vision, right? Real-time intelligence from inside the trailer? From a risk management perspective, that is a game changer. If I can see the load shifting before the driver takes a sharp turn, or if I can detect a theft attempt in real time, that significantly reduces my indemnity exposure.
Look, it's more than that. If we're moving toward cableless autonomous vehicles, those calves we keep hearing about, the trailer has to be smart. You don't have a driver to smell a failing wheel bearing, as Buck likes to say. The trailer has to tell the network, hey, my left rear tire is running hot. Get me to a shop.
I still think a nose is better than a sensor. But if Wallen can make a trailer that actually talks back before it causes a pileup, I'm in. I mean, Phillips Connect is already in the top 10 enterprise fleets. This isn't experimental. This is the new minimum requirement.
It's sort of like how we view GPS now, right? 10 years ago, it was a cool feature. Now, if a carrier doesn't have it, I'm not even putting them on my RFP.
True, but look, we have to talk about the human element too. The State Department just did a massive pivot on foreign trucker visas.
Oh, this is the one with the vetting wall, right? I was reading about this on Landline. The State Department resumed the H-2A and H-2B visas for drivers, but the Department of Labor is adding some serious teeth to the English proficiency requirements.
Right. Safety over speed. That's the official line. For the first time, if a driver can't read highway signs or respond to an officer in English, it's a notice of deficiency.
About time. I mean, I'm all for getting more help on the road, but if you can't read bridge out or no trucks over 10 tons, you're a rolling liability. Here's the deal. I've seen guys get stuck under overpasses because they didn't understand the clearance signs. It's dangerous.
Well, okay, but look at the scale of this. They expect this to effectively remove 194,000 non-citizen drivers from the current workforce. 194,000! In a driver shortage? That feels like, it feels like a self-inflicted wound, right?
It's a massive capacity squeeze, bottom line. Rubio and the State Department are calling it a safety audit, but it's a purge. They've already revoked 28,000 non-domiciled CDLs for non-compliance. Look, shippers are going to feel this in their rates by Q3.
Actually, Dan, I'd rather pay more for a load that arrives than less for one that ends up in a lawsuit. But I agree. The timing is, aggressive.
Hey, before we move on to Saya and this container price-fixing mess, a quick note from our sponsor. Strategic Logistics requires world-class engineering. This show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Support the architect behind the code. Visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Neural Network Media for a free trial and access to our daily briefing PDF.
Okay, we're back. And speaking of capacity, Dan, you mentioned Saya. They are just, they are on a tear with these new terminals.
Oh, they are playing the density game better than almost anyone right now. They just opened Marysville, Washington, and Edinburgh, Indiana. That brings their count to 216 service centers.
Edinburgh is a good spot. 40 minutes south of Indy? That's a high-traffic corridor. I've spent a lot of time on that stretch of I-65.
Look, they've invested $2 billion in the last 2 years. They're basically the primary beneficiary of the Yellow collapse. They've integrated 30 of those old Yellow terminals. Patrick Sugar, their EVP of Ops, basically said it's about efficient routing opportunities.
Efficient routing is code for fewer empty miles, which I love. But let's look at the broader multimodal picture. While Saya is building docks, the railroads are actually showing some life.
Oh? Is the intermodal surge real this time?
Whew, 7%. That's a big jump. Look, that suggests a clearing of the bottlenecks. Grain is up 10% too. It looks like the port to inland fluidity is finally catching up to the demand.
I mean, that makes sense. If diesel is at $5.60 a gallon, shippers are going to start looking at the rail a lot harder. It's basic math. You want to save carbon? You want to save cash? Put it on a train.
Or put it in a CNG truck. Did you guys see Tomlinson Ready Mix in Canada? They just deployed Canada's first fully compressed natural gas ready mix fleet.
Gas-powered concrete trucks? Concrete is heavy, Jules. Does it have the torque to get out of a muddy job site?
Well, they say it does. And they're leveraging their own fast fill station in Ottawa. The big selling point for them isn't just the carbon, it's that they're quieter. Think about it, a residential job site at 6 a.m. The neighbors won't hate you as much if you aren't rattling their windows with a diesel engine.
Low carbon construction. That's a niche with huge growth potential. However, did you see the Beyond Plastics report that came out on May 20th? It was a reality check. It basically said circular supply chains are failing. We're losing 25 trillion euros a year because our recycling systems are still just make waste in disguise.
That is the definition of a leaky bucket. We talk about operational excellence, but we're throwing away trillions in materials. Look, it's a failure of the reverse logistics side of the house. We're great at getting stuff to the porch, but we're terrible at getting the waste back into the system.
Precisely. Technology can track the assets, but if the infrastructure to process them doesn't exist, the tracking is just a digital funeral for the planet.
All right, let's get into the main event. This is the story that's going to ripple through the global supply chain for months. The Department of Justice has unsealed indictments against the world's dominant shipping container manufacturers.
Price fixing. I knew it. I mean, you remember the pandemic? You couldn't find a box for love or money. And when you did, they were asking 5 times the normal rate.
Actually, Buck, it's worse than just asking for more. The DOJ is alleging a sophisticated global antitrust conspiracy. We are talking about the major Chinese manufacturers who control something like 90% of the global market.
90%? So, if they all decide to hike the prices at once, there's literally nowhere else to go, right?
Nowhere. It's a monopoly cartel, bottom line. The DOJ is charging executives with fixing prices and restricting supply to artificially inflate the market. And look, this isn't just about the box. Think about the cascading effect. If the cost of the container goes up, every single item inside that container gets a cartel tax.
According to the unsealed documents, this wasn't just informal. They were allegedly using trade associations as cover to coordinate their production caps. It's a textbook VUCA move, taking advantage of a volatile environment to cement their control.
I mean, the thing that burns me is how much we rely on these guys. We talk about made in America all day, but the boxes our stuff comes in, all of them are coming from the very people the DOJ is now saying are robbing us blind. It's a security risk, Dan, not just an economic one.
It's a legal reckoning for the whole multimodal sector. I mean, look at the timing. We have Port Houston hitting 1 million TEU milestones, rail intermodal surging, and now the very equipment we use for all of it is under a legal cloud. Shippers are going to be filing class action lawsuits that will last a decade.
It sort of makes you wonder if this is why we're seeing that shift from lean to strategic resilience, right? If you can't trust the global equipment market, you start wanting to own your own chassis, own your own boxes, and keep your supply chain close to home.
Or you shift to different materials. Actually, this might be the nudge the industry needs to look at composite containers or other alternatives that aren't controlled by this specific cartel. But the immediate fallout? Every contract you have that includes an equipment surcharge just became a negotiation scene from a crime movie.
Exactly. Shippers are going to be asking, hey, was this surcharge based on a fair market or a secret meeting in a hotel room? It's a mess. Bottom line, it's a reminder that global trade isn't just about logistics. It's about geopolitics and the rule of law.
I'll tell you who's not getting indicted. James McNamara. Did you guys see he just got into the International Maritime Hall of Fame?
Oh, the ILA Chief of Staff? I saw that. 44 years of service. That's incredible.
He raised over $10 million for the ILA Children's Fund. That is the leadership as service model we need more of. In an industry of tech acquisitions and price-fixing scandals, having someone like McNamara recognized for resilience and philanthropy? It's a nice reality check.
It is. It's about handshakes and history. McNamara navigated the union through containerization, the very thing the DOJ is investigating right now, and he kept it cohesive. Look, you can have all the agentic AI in the world, but at the end of the day, it's people like him who keep the circulatory system moving.
Okay, well, okay, so we have robots doing the paperwork, carriers getting out of bankruptcy, trailers with brains, and a global container conspiracy. Did I miss anything?
Just a regular Saturday in the freight world, Jules.
Don't forget the English test for the drivers. Actually, I think that's the one that's going to cause the most headaches on Monday morning.
I mean, if you can't say the bridge is out in English, you shouldn't be hauling 80,000 pounds. Sorry, not sorry.
That does it for us today on the high road. To recap, the big play today is the DOJ unsealing those price-fixing charges against the global container cartel, a move that's set to trigger a wave of litigation and potentially reshape how we source equipment for the next decade.
Peace.
Bye. Later.
Don't let the market checkmate you, folks.